This is what happens when I try to get the brakes to work. When I spin the wheel, you can hear it rubbing. Also, the brakes I have to push very far in the current state to get the brakes to engage. So they're both loose and don't engage. So I was trying to follow YouTube videos to get them to work. I had loosened these bolts. They're not tight right now because of where I left them. I'll loosen these two bolts. That's what was indicated on the YouTube videos to try to adjust this. Loosen the bolts on the caliper. Not necessarily inclined to do all this, but I tried. Okay. So there were a couple of methods suggested. I've tried all of them. If I loosen these bolts associated with the caliper now wiggles. Okay. And if I now tighten the brake, okay, and then try to tighten the caliper, it's supposed to fix the caliper in the appropriate position. The problem is that as soon as I tighten the caliper, if you focus here on this guy, as soon as I tighten this bolt, the caliper actually shifts. You can see this happening. So it doesn't tighten it in the current position. Instead, it actually moves it. Just by tightening this bolt, the caliper actually shifts, which is, I think, the source of the problem. But I don't know for sure, okay? But whatever happens, if I tighten this bolt fully, and this bolt fully, I'm not even tightening them fully, I'm just tightening them a little bit, and then going back and forth. I understand that these bolts have to be quite tight, according to the YouTube videos that I was following. They all agree, okay? I'm still holding this brake down, by the way. I tighten these caliper bolts, get them tight, okay? But by this point, there's no avoiding the fact that this piece has shifted in the process. Now when I release this, you can actually see that instead of being centered, the caliper is rubbing against one side. And now now that the caliper has been tightened, if I try to roll the wheel, if I try to spin the wheel, can you spin the wheel for me also? Okay, it rubs, and then I'm hitting the brake to get the brake to stop, but it's okay. So there's quite a bit of rubbing in there, but also the brake has to go all the way in. So the next step is to tighten this internal brake over here, this piece over here, a click or two. I don't know if that looks a little bit more even than before, but it looks, the disc looks diagonal against the brakes, the brake pads. Okay, let's see how that looks now. We lift the wheel, and I'll lift. It rubs as you go. Now the brake stops at a better point, but it's still rubbing. I can try to loosen it up a little.
This video is getting really long to post.
But there's no way to get all the features to be right. So I can loosen this up, overturn, Good minute. And you spin again. So it rubs no matter what happens. I can stop it. Okay. And that's what happens.